All right. Well, I get a lot of questions about cradle modifications with the Honda K-Series, and people seem to think that why won't the K-Series fit in the Fiero? I don't want to modify my cradle. Well, the short answer is then the K-Series isn't for you. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the process of how I modify the Fiero cradle to work with the Honda K-Series, which is over here. Now, if you don't want to modify your cradle, honestly, the K-Series isn't for you. There's a couple of areas that's going to be a problem. And since the K-Series is such a tall engine, we have to do what we can to get it as low to the cradle as possible. If you have a K-Series with the aluminum oil pan, like that K20Z3 over there, you're going to have interference with the Fiero's original front engine mount. And you'll also notice, you see how we have that bow in the cradle? Now this cradle is upside down, so this actually faces up, which is exactly where the K-Series AC compressor lives. So GM put that hump in there to clear the exhaust to wrap around from the firewall over toward the back of the Fiero. We don't need that on the K-Series because the exhaust is already on the trunk side, so that part is completely unnecessary and it's only in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut off. I'm going to then start test fitting everything, and then I'm going to take a section of 2x2 box tubing. I believe what I have on hand is either 1/8 inch or 3/16 wall, which is, if it's 3/16, we're getting pretty thick. And then weld that in to replace this entire front cross member. Now, Fieros are notorious for cracking the transmission mount right here, and it'll start cracking from the bolt holes and actually spread out. This is actually the weakest part of the Fiero cradle, and there's actually people who make bolt-in or weld-in cradle braces. So with the cradle mod, you eliminate this, and it's no longer a problem. Cradle then becomes way more stiff, and when you're dealing with a K-Series, which has a minimum of 50 horsepower over what any engine that was offered in the Fiero, you can see where this is going to start cracking even quicker if you were to reuse these mounts. Now, what I'm going to try to do is figure out the mid-plate design where it actually would tie in to these existing points. Now remember, this is upside down. If I can make it work with a bolt to the existing tranny mounts, that would be great, at least on the rear. And then we'll just figure out what we're going to do on the front. At least with that there, it'll help get me placed in this whole 3D space, but we'll see. So this is going to be a video series, or 1 or 2 videos on how I modify the cradle, so let's get to work. Alright, so I now have the lower engine mount cut off. I need to go back in and clean this up and get this tight as I can to the cradle itself. This area is really tight and we need to get it as much room as we can. I'll show you why. On my personal 1988 Fiero with the K-swap, I am running the Moroso oil pan, and as you can see, it's really tight. And I know camera angle is going to make it look even tighter, but there's probably about 3/16 gap between the oil pan and the cradle frame rail there. So again, it is really tight, and this shows you exactly why you have to cut off the Fiero's original engine mount there. Alright, next step, gonna go ahead and get this all cleaned up. Alright, well, we got that all trimmed down, grinded down, looks pretty good. Got it really close. You can usually tell you're getting close because you can actually see the part line from the original welds, and that lets you know you've got it cut down pretty good. So next up, let's get this in the mock-up bay and start getting these mounts figured out. All right, well, I'm in the process of mocking up the engine bay, trying to get the axle center line all straightened out. We need to match the Honda's axle center line with the Fiero's axle center line. One of the areas you're going to run into a problem for everybody that, again, I don't know why everybody's on that I don't want to modify my cradle. It just, you have to do it. That's all it boils down to. Because the Honda engine is actually lean, as you can see, it's actually got a lean to it. And on here, let's see, right now, I'd say that's probably a 5-degree angle as of right now, and that's nowhere near where it's supposed to be. We can't get any more angle out of it because the oil pan is hitting the Fiero's front cross member, and I have already, as you can tell, removed the AC compressor, or it would be much, much worse. But yeah, look how tight it is down in there. I just bumped the engine. Yeah, there's just, we can't get any more angle out of it. So, you guessed it, engine's got to come back out. I'm going to weld a brace from one side of the cradle to the other to help hold it in place. And then I'm going to take this whole mock-up bay, flip it over, and then do my measurements for the new cradle cross member and cut the old one out, and then tack the new one in, and using the pickup points to help hold the cradle in place to keep it from trying to twist or spread when I cut the front cross member out. So let's get to work. All right, I have actually been cracking right along and kind of got ahead of myself on the steps. There's a couple of brackets here that you'll need to cut and grind smooth, as I did on both sides. It's basically to hold the original exhaust in place. Tack welded across the brace there. Hold the cradle between here, the back, and across. That shouldn't move anywhere. I cut this. Now, basically, I'm doing a measurement from here to back there. That's 7 inches. Squared up on both sides. And what I use is a piece of angle on the bottom there, and that sets my height all the way across. Now I'm going to tack it up and get this thing welded up. So let me get to that. All right, progress continues. I am desperately low on shielding gas, and my welds are starting to look kind of terrible. So I need to go get a refill, go get that bottle exchanged, let this set up overnight and completely cool. I'm not going to take any of the clamps and anything off, or the bars. Not going to loosen, do anything, and let this naturally cool off overnight. Another thing that you can do to help when you're welding, because this is some pretty thick wall stuff, is to heat it up with like a MAP gas torch, because you could tell once I started getting heat in it, the penetration started looking way better. So that's something I'll do when I take this cradle off, and that way I can do flat welding. Not so good. I tried going up with the puddle and down with the puddle. Not quite happy with the way they turned out, so I might grind them and re-weld them. But this is purely just for mock-up unless somebody wants to do exchange. Then I'll take this over and have Steve weld it up professionally. I'm just a hobbyist welder, and thick stuff is okay. Don't make me break out the arc welder, because I trust that thing's pen, but I'm afraid it'd blow through this thin cradle. This would be fine, but cradle, it wouldn't be that great. And I learned how to do this on Brian's cradle in his K-swap, so sorry, B. So we're going to call it a day, let this all cool off. So we'll get back at it in the morning. See you then. Well, all right. A few days have passed since I last shot any footage. Is that light on? Yes, it is. Okay. Just want to show you guys where we're at so we can button up this modify the cradle for a K-Series video. Prototype mount for the trans, that's the EP3 style, K20 transmission. You can see down here, I'm working on a mid-plate design. The engine in here is a K20 Z3, and I think I already covered the EP3 transmission. So this side, I'm working on finishing up the other side of the mid-plate. And the designs that I've seen online have tabs, which you might be able to see one of the tabs here. Yeah, you can. Have tabs that mount to the engine block and the transmission. So you can pull one or the other and leave the other one in the car, and it's fully supported. So that's what I'm working on here, to integrate all that. This part has come along really, really quick. I'm quite happy with it. Let's see if I can get an angle down here. Yeah, so that's coming along really nice. And now my pocket's ringing, so let me answer that. All right, we're gonna finish out this video. I just finished up the quick, dirty, ugly prototype mid-plate for the K-Series swap. Yes, it's ugly and rough right now, but that's what happens when you throw it together in 2 days. Just thin sheet metal, just so I can get the pattern. I'll take it over to Steve and we'll transfer it all laser cut, 3/16 plate. It'll look great. I'm actually quite jealous of the people who do the K-swap now that like go K20 or K24, but they want those mounts, because this frees up so much space. You can't understand how much more space this frees up. I'll show you actually. This is the size of the mounts on my K-swap over there. Now you get an idea. That's a big difference. And these just control the up-down motion where the engine's trying to twist. All the main weight is supported on the big mounts and the one over on that side. So not to worry there. This just stabilizes it from trying to tilt. Got it done. I'm thinking I may take the whole engine bay mock-up bay over to Steve just to do a final verification that once the pattern parts are done, he can check it all on this mock-up bay, make any changes for fitment or, you know, on his creative design that might simplify the mounts, and of course then the cost of production, and just see if we can just streamline it. Then we'll take the empty K20 transmission case off, put the TSX 6-speed, re-verify that mount, and then we'll put the TSX K24 in and just verify the other front mount, and we'll do it with the mid plate as well. But this setup is a lot cooler. I like the K20 mounts a lot better than the K24 mount, so look for those to get revised at some point. But this shows you why you have to modify the Cradle to do the Honda K-Series. It's just, you gotta do it just to get the oil pan clearance, which on here you can't see the oil pan because it's sitting over there. So trust me when I say you have to do cutting. There is welding required, but it's very simple modifications, and boom, you have a Honda K-Series. It's unbelievable how simple it is to put a Honda engine in a Pontiac. You know, now that I found 30, 40 different ways on how not to do it. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna try to get this video edited and uploaded. I know it's been a while since I put one out, but I've been thrashing, trying to get these mounts ready for production. We've sold, what we saw, I think we've already sold 4 of the pre-production sale. There was 1 slot available as of today. By the time you see this, it might already be gone. So make sure you check out kFiero on Facebook, or Fiero K_K_swap on Instagram. I'll put the thing in the thing up wherever it goes. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.